Welcome to Säbener Straße for this live feed of FC Bayern's open training session. It is just 10:30 a.m. in Germany, and the squad are returning to full training after the majority were given yesterday off to spend with their families. Thomas Tuchel with his assistant coaches Arno Mikkels and Zolt Löw. Anthony Barry also there. You should see the majority of the squad in full training. I say the majority were given yesterday off. We'll start with a little rondo between players over here. Joshua Kimmich and Serge Gnabry and Thomas Müller involved. Here comes Harry Kane. Interesting to see how he fares. He was perhaps fit and started and played the Klassiker against Dortmund. Didn't see many reaction from the ankle injuries. Walking normally, so all eyes on Harry Kane. Maybe Kingsley Coman too, to see if there's any reaction after his comeback against Dortmund. But Thomas Tuchel wants to see the kind of will to win, the kind of intensity that many said didn't quite get shown in that Klassiker with Dortmund. Joshua Kimmich was upfront and honest as usual, as was Thomas Müller, who said that maybe the look in the eyes wasn't quite there, that intensity. They didn't really want it as much as he felt they should do. They'll kick off with some warm-up exercises just after Thomas Tuchel has given them an idea and a rundown about what will be coming over the next 90 minutes or so. So family time yesterday, but for some, three in particular, they did come in and work on individual programs. Alexander Pavlovic, Bouna Sarr and Rafael Guerreiro all trained yesterday as they continue their comebacks from injury. Guerreiro has a thigh problem. Pavlovic had tonsillitis but seemed to be training okay. Bouna Sarr might take a little bit longer. Interesting to see Manuel Neuer's progress if we do see him out on the training pitch with his groin injury. Missed the international break, missed the game with Dortmund. Sacha Boey has a hamstring injury and hasn't played much at all since the middle of February. But the options are coming back in every position, with Coman back and Serge Gnabry too. Four centre-backs all fit in Kim, Upamecano, De Ligt and Eric Dyer. So the first chance after the warm-downs to get that defeat out of their system and show some real intensity here. And they'll do it in front of a decent public crowd too, as well as showing this one live. We are open to the public here at Säbener Straße, and you should see plenty of them around. Something Harry Kane might not have experienced too many times with Tottenham. This open access training session. A glimpse of their heroes, and maybe a few photos and autographs too, once the hard work is done over the next 90 minutes. Everybody keen here to work that defeat out of their system. It was the first time in an awful long time, particularly at home, that they suffered defeat to Dortmund. First time in 5.5 years. They lost in the Bundesliga to them. First time in nearly 10 at the Allianz Arena. They'd won 9 in a row before that. They had won 3 in a row, remember. Let's not forget the big goal-scoring feats against Darmstadt and Mainz, and even Lazio with that reply before that defeat. 16 scored, 3 conceded. It had been 5 unbeaten in all, with Harry Kane finding the net with regularity. Still on course to break that record set by Robert Lewandowski. 31 goals at the moment in 27 Bundesliga games, including 4 hat-tricks, 2 of them back-to-back against Darmstadt and Dortmund. He'll get the chance to continue in the Champions League too, a matchup in a week's time, which will be of particular significance to a former Tottenham player. Away at Arsenal in the first leg of that Champions League quarter-final. A mouth-watering matchup to consider. But first, what they're aiming for in this game is a matchup with Heidenheim. Sven Ulreich will be the man, presumably between the posts again. Doesn't seem Manuel Neuer will be back in time. And Heidenheim, although they haven't tasted victory now for a few weeks, did give Stuttgart, who are just behind Bayern, a real scare last time out. Coming back from 2-0 down at the weekend to almost beat them 3-2, only for Dennis Undav to equalise in the 98th minute. No win in 6, only 1 win in 11 this year for the Bundesliga debutants, and that was against Werder Bremen. But they did give them a scare in Munich too, if you remember, back in November. Bayern won 4-2, but only after Heidenheim would also come back in that game from 2-0 down with 2 quick goals to level it with 20 minutes to go. Harry Kane with a double to open things up. Rafael Guerreiro and Eric Maxing Choupo-Moting scoring for a 4-2 win. So there'll be absolutely no complacency from the team or from Thomas Tuchel, particularly after what happened against Bochum more recently. Stuttgart, having dropped points, are now 3 behind. The gap to the top, though, crucially 13 points. Thomas Tuchel already congratulating Leverkusen. A little bit of mind games, perhaps, but it's an awfully difficult gap to bridge now. With the games remaining, it is about, as Max Ebel said over the weekend, representing Bayern the way they should be represented over the course of the remaining matches, both in the Bundesliga and in the UEFA Champions League. And there should be plenty of optimism going into that one, particularly the way Bayern have dominated Arsenal in recent meetings. They've won the last 3 competitive ones by 5 goals to 1. A week today, it'll be a repeat of that most recent meeting, and that was in North London in the round of 16 in 2017. Bayern winning both legs of that one 5-1. Despite falling behind, a whole host of goals from Lewandowski, Robb and Douglas Costa, and then a couple laid on from Arturo Vidal. You won't see too much just yet as they go through their warm-up exercises. Jamal Musiala and those around him. Couple of little touches of the ball at one end. Goretzka and Sané also in this group, along with Joshua Kimmich and Eric Dyer. Harry Kane making up the numbers at the end. Nothing too strenuous before they get into the short-sided games. They might do another lap of the training pitch once they've done this little bit of ball work. What a season it has been for that man. Never fails to face up to the media after the games either. Explain where it went right and where it went wrong. Looking to add to his 6 goals in 8 Champions League appearances this season as well, when he takes on Arsenal. Before that, a chance to maybe get a couple more against Heidenheim, who have conceded regularly, but they've also shown in Tim Kleindienst and Jan-Niklas Bester in particular that they can cause sides real trouble. Those two netting against Bayern in Munich back in November. Eric Dyer, one of those who very nearly scored along with Harry Kane in the first half against Dortmund, which could have given the game much different complexion. Although Thomas Tuchel was honest and said they didn't do the basics right, they were also unlucky in those key moments. It was an excellent clearance off the line by Mats Hummels to deny Eric Dyer. Harry Kane's header, something that also on another day might well have gone in. Would have given them a 2-1 minimum half-time lead. Still wasn't quite the Bayern that you're used to seeing. Not the energy or the spirit, according to Sven Ulreich, and just not the right intensity, according to Thomas Müller, who also always fronts up, along with Kane and Kimmich. Tells it how it is. You can, of course, post your comments. We're streaming this in German and in English live on Bayern's Facebook page, live on Bayern's YouTube channels. If you have any questions, if we can answer them, if we've got the answers and are able to see what we need to see here, then we can let you know. We're expecting it to last around about 90 minutes. Up to midday German time. Daniel Peretz and Sven Ulreich going through their warm-ups with the goalkeeping coach, Michael Rechner. Away to the other side as Goretzka also goes through the ball work in this little group up at the top. Might not have been a good weekend for Bayern's men's first team, but it was a notable week for FC Bayern's women's side, who came through and reached the cup final on Sunday, beating Frankfurt on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Georgia Stanway scoring early on for Bayern. Nilla Harder with the decisive penalty. Their first final in 6 years. They'll face Wolfsburg early in May in Cologne. Always interesting occasions these for Thomas Tuchel. What kind of drills to put on, what kind of tactics to show. Something Heidenheim I'm sure will be watching, as well as all the public and those of you watching on the live stream here. always draws a decent crowd. It's not the most pleasant of weather conditions. The wind is up. There's spots of rain in the air, but plenty of interest always at Säbener Straße when Bayern have these open training sessions, whether they're top or second in the table as it stands at the moment. 3 ahead of Stuttgart, 13 behind Leverkusen. One set of warm-up exercises complete. On to the next set under the watchful eyes of Thomas Tuchel. Löw and Arno Michels and Anthony Barry all in there as well. Dr. Holger Broich will be around too. The head of fitness, the scientific director. There we go. I can see we have a question as to whether Manuel Neuer might make the Arsenal game. It's a week today, so I think in traditional football terms, he's facing a race against time. That injury in training with the national side, keeping him out of Dortmund at the weekend. You don't see him out here. It's Sven Ulreich and Daniel Peretz who are warming up with Michael Rechner elsewhere on the pitch here. So it is more or less going to be touch and go as to whether he'll face Arsenal. Doesn't look like he'll be playing against Heidenheim. Torn muscle fibre in his left adductor, the groin muscle. Those things are not injuries you can rush back from. Harry Kane should be leading the line once again, though. Good to have options now in every position. Gnabry back in full training. Kingsley Coman is also out there after coming back from his couple of months out through injury. Also unsure if we'll see Sacha Boey, whose hamstring injury has kept him out. But it looks like Alexander Pavlovic should be back again at the weekend. Rafael Guerreiro is another, but they'll have to wait and see how he responds. We do see Guerreiro in amongst that mix, so maybe he is good enough and fit enough to once again take his place. Might be that he has to make do with a place on the bench, though. A familiar Rondo, Sven Ulreich, the man in the middle, trying to get the ball back. Probably more used to sliding in and intercepting than maybe the rest of them. Plenty of good-natured training, though, at the moment. Plenty of smiles on faces. Exactly what the fans want to see after such a dispiriting weekend where Thomas Tuchel essentially already conceded the Bundesliga title. Trying to put the pressure back on Bayer Leverkusen, maybe. Whose maiden title is now just a handful of wins away. Never easy, though. Bayern have been in those situations before and can manage the emotion, manage the nerves. You never quite sure. It was nervy for Leverkusen until late on against Hoffenheim when they scored those two late goals to Robert Andrich and Patrick Schick. Looked like a first defeat of the season in every competition was on the way. We've got the cup to negotiate tomorrow against Fortuna Düsseldorf, and then tricky trips to Union and West Ham as well. Still to play Stuttgart, admittedly at home. Still to play Frankfurt, who are also pushing for European football. And still to go to Signal Iduna Park in the middle of this month and face Borussia Dortmund. So, plenty more tests to come. It is certainly not a foregone conclusion, but they have the advantage, and it is a big one. 13 points. Upamecano and Davies among this group. Davies will be expected to start again at left back. Konrad Leimer is in there too. Alexander Pavlovich looks to be joining in without too much trouble. Well, wherever you're watching, whether it is via our Facebook page or via the YouTube Live, a very warm welcome to morning time here in Munich. Just approaching 11 local time. Still only warm-ups, really, that the players have gone through. Rondos with the ball, a little bit of light jogging, some little shuttle runs back and forwards after some ball work. And is Musiala having to chase this one down. Kim has just been in the middle and remains there up in the top group. You can post your questions whether on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. And if we can, then we will find out the answers for you. So that section of the warm-up is done. We've had almost half an hour already, scheduled to last about 90 minutes here at Säbener Straße. And it's time for the first drinks break of the session. Nothing too heavy so far. So Thomas Tuchel plans the next stage then, which is a very similar little set of rondos to the previous one. A little bit more intensity. More of a short-sided game in a very short area. It's often a similar setup. If you've watched these before, if you've been along, as a supporter here to Säbener Straße, so you will see the early warm-ups and the ball work, and then a little bit more intensity as it stepped up and the competitiveness comes in. You can see just how much quicker they're having to be in this one. The Bibs playing against those in red, having to keep a hold of it as long as they can. There is no goal. It is more about keeping possession under the kind of pressing that they're expected to face, particularly against Arsenal. At Heidenheim are one of those sides that run and do not give opponents a moment's rest. It has been their way. It is one of their ways of competing against sides with much bigger budgets and playing rosters, of course, in the Bundesliga, having come up from the Zweite Bundesliga and given a good account of themselves. Made it look very much like they are going to stay up. They're a difficult prospect. Not many expected them to be where they are. 11th on 30 points. They are 10 clear of the bottom three. Mainz getting a useful point away at Leipzig over the weekend. Just a point ahead of Köln, who are second bottom. Darmstadt 5 further back. And 12 points from absolute safety. Another side who came up with Heidenheim, surpassed Heidenheim last season, but are not able to do so this campaign. Here we have Peretz. There's the goalkeeper at one end, Leimer and Upamecano and Kim and Pavlovic and Alphonso Davies, all part of the group. You very rarely see Thomas Müller without a smile on his face. Certainly in these situations. He wasn't smiling at the weekend when he was being brutally honest about how Bayern fell short against Dortmund. Goals change games. The early goal for Dortmund certainly did that. And the chances that Dyer and Kane had would, I'm sure, have changed that game. Choupo-Moting, also a part of this one, scored in the most recent game against Heidenheim. Hello to those of you watching from right across the world. I know Bayern have such a global reach and fan clubs in many countries across Europe and in Africa too. You can see we've got those watching in Kenya, watching in Liberia, and watching in Zimbabwe. Here's Musiala battling with Eric Dyer. You can see the intensity is certainly up there. Sven Ulreich guarding it at the other side. That intensity is what Thomas Müller and Joshua Kimmich said was missing. Thomas Tuchel effectively said they didn't do the basics right. They didn't have luck in key moments, but they didn't get the basics right. And by the end, they didn't look that confident at all. That is something that they need to change. And these kind of exercises, these kind of intense sessions are what can help give that back. Thanks for all of the comments so far. We've got people watching here from South Africa and Senegal on YouTube, and also on Facebook, Gambia, Denmark, Ghana, and it is very early in the morning in Texas. That is absolutely right. More of you watching from New Zealand and from Ghana, Kenya. Also very well represented here. And a warm welcome from Lagos in Nigeria too. Bayern training here at Säbener Straße. And they've been out for about 36 minutes so far. Some early warm-up exercises, some basic ball work, some little light jogs, and then a more intense couple of small-sided, intense games to practice beating various forms of pressing. That's the first of them. They might change the groups up after the drinks break. Quite often, Thomas Tuchel will give them that early address, send them out for the warm-up. His coaches will monitor these small-sided games. And then once they've done another round or two of these, he'll have another word about what they're going to focus on next. Usually, the tactics and the opposition focus and analysis come later in the week. Given they all had yesterday off, bar those three that came in to work on fitness, Bouna Sarr, Alexander Pavlovic and Rafa Guerreiro, today will be more about getting the touch back. After having a warm down the day after the game. It's more about keeping things ticking over. Thomas Tuchel and his coaches will be planning over the next few games the workload, with matches coming up in quick succession. Heidenheim at the weekend, and then a week today, a visit to North London in the first leg of that Champions League quarter-final. So short bursts of intensity, but this week, focus later on will be more on Heidenheim and about how best to combat the way they go about things. Hello from Rodriguez Island. Hello from Bangladesh and Mozambique. It is always amazing to see just how far Bayern's reach travels and just how many people love to tune in and get a good look at what is going on here. Good morning to those of you in Vietnam. We've got viewers in Romania, I can see here as well on Facebook. More from Bangladesh too. We do have these quite often. They're not every week, the public training sessions. Quite often during the summer and the pre-season training, there are many more of them when the side are preparing for their various visits around the world, be that America or over to the Far East. They will have open training sessions there, and they'll have them here at Säbener Straße as well. They have elements of pre-season training further south in Bavaria, where we'll also have often streams and some of the live practice games too, both local and international ones. That was the last time they met Arsenal competitively in the Champions League in 2017, but they also met that summer in Shanghai, and then met a couple of years later in California in these pre-season tournaments. They'll meet again competitively for the first time in 7 years next week. Can't believe it's 7 years since that double 5-1 success at home and in North London. Cameroon well represented too. Good morning from Thailand and from Lesotho. Very good to have your company here watching Bayern train. They are often live streamed, the games, but via the Bayern website you can pick up radio commentary live as well of all the matches. That and the press conference, which is translated for you, the words of Thomas Tuchel. Good morning to those of you in Ghana and in Nigeria. Plenty also down in the south of Africa. We're still in those small-sided games, but it's now been expanded out a little after an intense set of pressing. Now there's a little more space to operate and pick a pass, but still the bibs against those in the regular training tops. As you can see, 8 against 8. Kane and Kimi Hyemondo wearing the bibs, and then the extra man wearing the blue bib, who can be found by whichever team has the ball. Rafael Guerreiro at the moment wearing that blue bib. That's where they can take the advantage, whoever's got the ball, with the extra man. Good morning from Munich to those of you in the UK, in Paris, in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Good morning from Säbener Straße. Uganda too, and Liberia. Hello to everybody on Facebook, and those of you on YouTube too, who are watching from Newcastle in the UK and from the United States. Streaming right around the globe here in German and English, and we have a Spanish feed too. Little break for Thomas Tuchel to be able to assess things with Arno Michels and his coaches who are running the other sessions. You can hear the wind getting up. The leaves have been blowing around Säbener Straße before people manage to come inside here and get a glimpse of what Bayern are doing. That is one of Thomas Tuchel's assistants, Soltlöw, giving some instructions at the back of that particular training. Tuchel getting this back off and underway. A warm welcome. Those of you in Nigeria and Ethiopia too. Hope we're coming through loud and clear here. We've got cameras all around the training ground, so you can get an elevated view here and then get the close-up view of what the players are up to. And you can see right the way around all four sides, particularly on that far side there in front of the white buildings, the players changing areas in the canteen. That is where the majority of the public have come in to watch today. Not too much contact, you'll notice, when they are closing down. They're very much doing so with the pressing rather than tackling at the moment. Nobody wants to pick up an injury at this stage of the season, particularly Harry Kane, has been out with an ankle problem and is now back fit again. Certainly the intensity in closing down, but not the kind of crunching tackles that you'd see in a match situation. Plenty coming back from Knox. Pavlovic is back from being ill. Guerrero and Bunazar trained with him yesterday. Players will be coming over afterwards. Plenty of shirts, caps, balls waiting to be signed as well. Chance for a photograph or two and an autograph from their heroes. They're a good four deep in some places, trying to get a glimpse of those players out training. Many came here early to get that excellent front row position. So plenty watching locally and plenty of you tuning in on live on Facebook. It looks like we have viewers in Iraq, Australia and Kenya as well. A very good morning to you from this part of Munich. We've got about 40 minutes of the morning left in Germany. Kim and Choupo-Moting and Matthijs de Ligt putting the intensity into this one. It is 11:19 a.m. here in Germany right now. Obviously a little later than that across to the east of the continent and into Africa, down in Congo. And a warm welcome to those of you watching in Ghana as well. I know a huge section of Bayern support in that particular country. A lot of attention from the supporters on Jamal Musiala, of course, as well. One of Bayern's young stars. One thing you can get a good idea of with these particular games is just how vocal certain people are on the pitch. You're used to seeing Thomas Müller giving orders and instructions, defenders in particularly the centre halves, controlling the game, and when they have the ball, controlling where it'll go next. But Gives you a good idea. You don't hear it with the crowd, but this is exactly what they'll be doing during the game, whether you can hear it or not. Hello to all of you. Excellent messages coming in. Warm welcome from viewers in Pakistan. Mali as well. Tuesday morning here in Germany, 11:22 local time. Preparing for the game in 4 days' time away in Heidenheim, the newest of Bundesliga newcomers who are punching well above their weight and looking all set to survive another season after this, their debut campaign in Germany's top flight. It looks like the intensity is back. It'll increase during the next couple of sessions, and then there will be more tactics when it comes to preparing for Heidenheim. And they'll have to do a little bit on Arsenal as well, because there isn't too much time in between. Play Saturday, rest Sunday, train Monday morning, and then fly to London for a press conference ahead of the Champions League game Monday evening, and then the game a week today. So these sessions over the next few days are not just with Heidenheim in mind, they're also with a UEFA Champions League quarter-final in mind against Arsenal, a team in form in North London who've just got a draw against Manchester City, the current Premier League champions. Hello to those of you in the Gambia, in Bangladesh, and many in Nigeria. Good morning from Munich, and in South Africa too. A very warm welcome to this training session, which is now nearly an hour in. We've had 53 minutes since the players came out here, just shy of 10:30 local time. So let's see what's up next after the drinks break. The small goals are coming out, which is always fun. Back to smaller-sided games. Hello from us here to those of you in Bangladesh, Australia, and indeed Nepal. Very warm welcome. Hope you're enjoying the coverage of Thomas Tuchel and his Bayern players as they go through their paces in his first training session back after the Easter weekend. The game Saturday, the Klassiker. A warm down Sunday, and then a Monday to spend with families. Easter Monday. Now a return for the full group. Those that can, those that are still working their way back from injury. Manuel Neuer amongst them, training individually, as did Zagrado and Pavlovic yesterday. Pavlovic is out with the group along with Rafa Guerreiro. So that's good news for both of those two, with a comeback against Heidenheim in mind. Ghana and Kenya and Liberia well represented this morning as well. Hello to all of you. Hello to those of you in Cape Town in particular. I can see we've got viewers down there. We will be showing the goalkeepers training. We have done a little. They're doing individual bits and pieces with their own goalkeeping coach, Michael Rechner. It is Sven Ulreich and backup keeper Daniel Peretz who are out training at the moment. They were in the equivalent goal. You can see two of the bigger goals at the back of the shot here, up against the building and the netting. They were just across the other side of this training pitch. They are going through various bits of ball work, sitting on the large round balls to support their core and catching practice with that. The focus here, though, is on these small-sided games with the small goals. Everything watched and analysed. The players are all wearing trackers, data being fed into these various boxes, which the assistant coaches and those involved in analysis and fitness can then get the details from. Hello to those of you watching in other African countries too. We've got lots of representation this morning. Zambia and Senegal and Liberia and Ghana and Kenya well represented too. Hello from Palestine. As we watch Thomas Müller and Konrad Laimer. Matthijs de Ligt trying to keep an eye on Thomas Müller. Even in training, he manages to find little pockets of space to exploit. St. Vincent and the Grenadines as well. The reach of Bayern's training right across the globe. A very good morning to those of you in Denmark and Tunisia too. We should hopefully get another look at the goalkeepers' training. The cameras right across the training ground. We've got the elevated ones here, the ones lower down on both sides, which will give you the close-up shots of the players going through their paces. We had Sven Ulreich and Daniel Peretz as part of the group in the small-sided games, but they have now moved off to train individually. There is Sven Ulreich, who's come back in. Hello to those of you in Swaziland and Togo present as well. A very good morning. And thank you for tuning in to watch this live stream of FC Bayern training here for the first time after the Easter weekend. As you can see, it is a bit cloudy and overcast here. Spots of rain this morning. Wind at times too. You can see the trees moving on the far side. Not too bad at the moment. There have been a few gusts. You can see those of the public wearing their coats and hats in some occasions. It is not quite spring-like as yet. It was a spring weekend, but the weather has turned again and got a little colder over the last couple of days. Certainly not as warm as I'm sure it is where you're watching. Togo and Sydney and Uganda. We're coming to you live from Säbener Straße. We're streaming live on Bayern's website as well as on YouTube and Bayern's Facebook page in English and German and in Spanish too. Good to see Serge Gnabry back in full group training. Good to see Kingsley Coman coming back at the weekend. And we'll hope to see Guerrero and Pavlovic coming back this coming weekend, certainly based on the amount of training they've been able to put in today. Somalia well represented too. Well, that was a good bit of goalkeeping by Matthijs de Ligt, but he's paid for it by the looks of it. Got a ball whacked right at him, and now he's still rolling around on the turf. Rolling off the pitch, just about to get back on. Committed defending, but it looks like he's paid for it in a way. Hello from here to those of you in the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Malawi, from the United States, plenty of viewers across there too, and in Conakry, hello and good morning. Good morning from Munich to Angola and to Brazil. This is the elevated view of the main training pitch here at Säbener Straße, Bayern's training centre in Munich, where they're going through this section of, well, I think you'd call it a large-sided game because there's only on ball various different small goals. Both goalkeepers now also involved. They come across Ulreich at one end. I think Daniel Peret's down at the other end too. Well, they can use the full width of the pitch in order to try and work it into one of the small-sided goals. It's all about technique, really. Bibs against those in red who have just managed to score an own goal. Looks like Choupo-Moting put it into his own little net. good morning to those of you in Bangladesh. A session probably about 2/3 through now. We're expecting 90 minutes. And then the players should be able to take some time to take photos and sign autographs with those supporters who've come in person here in Munich to come and watch this open training session. Many of them dotted throughout the season, particularly over the course of pre-season. You'll see a lot more practice matches streamed live and training sessions, both from here and elsewhere in Munich if they go further south to the training camp, and from their pre-season tours. Today, it has been all about working the way out from pressure, small-sided games, slightly larger games, and then a bigger one here with 6 different small-sided goals. The tactics comes later. This is about keeping up that level of fitness and honing technique. Hello in Serbia, hello from Zimbabwe too. A very good morning to you here from Munich and from Australia. Thomas Muller setting the tone, as usual. Congratulations to those in red. A good session. Bringing the intensity and also the enjoyment is what it's going to be about at the weekend. Getting back to winning ways away at Heidenheim, a side who've made life difficult for everybody coming to that particular part of Germany so far this season. Harry Kane has a couple against them already, looking to add to his 31 Bundesliga goals in match number 28 coming up this weekend, and then hoping to shoot down Arsenal. As a former Spurs striker, nothing would please him more, I'm sure, than getting a goal or two away at their biggest rivals in North London. Potentially the last drinks break before the end for Bayern's players. We've done an hour and 10 of a projected hour and 20. The one player we haven't seen, which is understandable given his groin injury, is Manuel Neuer, who will be working individually. That would suggest he's not in contention for the weekend. It is touch and go as to whether he will be in contention for the visit to Arsenal, or whether it will be once again Sven Ulreich who will play. He was on the bench the last time they went over there. Neuer started that one. Joshua Kimmich came on as a substitute. Coman and Thomas Müller were in the squad, but on the bench. Good morning from here to those of you I can see on YouTube watching Malaysia, South Africa too. We've got representation from Turkey also on Facebook. A very good morning. Around about 20 minutes of the Munich morning left. An overcast and cloudy morning. So same size of pitch for this one, just the one half without the small goals. Now it is a case of trying to score at either end. We've got Säbener defending one, and Daniel Peretz defending the other. Bibs again against those in red. Doesn't look like they've mixed the teams up too much. That was showing you the opposite view from the camera on the other side, and a volley into the side netting. Very, very close after a neat little move. Swept over, I think, to tail on the far side. Comments still coming in on Facebook. Thank you very much for all of them and for all of you that have been watching live today, wherever in the world you are, from Senegal, from Mauritius. Might be our first from Mauritius this morning. Hello. I see representation this morning too from Pakistan, from Tunisia. Lots of you watching in Nigeria. India, good morning. And the Maldives too. Good to have your company. Off the post, that one. Very, very close to the first goal in this very competitive game. You can see Daniel Peretz is out there, guarding the goal away to the left-hand side. Hello to those in the Gambia, in Pakistan, in Eritrea, Indonesia. We are reaching all corners of the globe this morning with our streams on the Bayern website, on Facebook, and on Bayern's YouTube channel. Wherever you are and wherever you're listening, thank you very, very much. It is good to have you with us, and good no doubt to see that Bayern look to be back to their intense best in this particular session. There have been small-sided sessions, intense ones with pressing. The pressing is pretty intense here for those who have the ball. That's the idea, to break free, to find solutions, to pick up decent positions if you do have the ball and you're waiting for it. You can see how quickly they move it, how easily they control it, and how quickly the solutions present themselves if your teammates are making good movement. The man in the blue bib, looks like Conrad Lima from here, is the extra man. So whoever has the ball, he is on their team. Hello from South Sudan and Lesotho and Sierra Leone. Malawi too. A very warm welcome to FC Bayern training here. 15 minutes of the Munich morning to go. Drizzly and cloudy at the moment. You can hear the wind getting up. It's a cutback looking for Harry Kane, who very nearly got a nice shot at goal. That was intense. It was a tackle on Serge Gnabry, which he wasn't expecting. Well, as a result of that, he'll get a long-range penalty, Serge Gnabry. Let's see, how can he do against Sven Ulreich? Send him the wrong way. Goal for the Reds. Hello from Pakistan. 11 minutes of the 90 to go. Viewers too from Cape Town and from North Dakota. First one from North Dakota this morning. It'll be very early over there, I imagine. Here is Konrad Laimer, the extra man in the blue bib. It's an excellent long ball, and Laimer can't do anything about that one from just ahead of the penalty spot. It is 9 aside. And then the extra man too for whoever has the ball. Just the one goal, scored by Serge Gnabry. We'll see if they do come back out after this one. With an hour and 20 of the allotted hour and 30 to go. We might just be having a final drinks break here and then a chat from Thomas Tuchel. We'll wait and see. The coats are coming out, so that would suggest it. The bibs have come off for most of them, apart from Jamal Musiala. Hello from here to those of you in Jordan and Somalia. A very warm welcome. Johannesburg in South Africa. Good to have you with us. Ghana and Nigeria. Very well represented too this morning as Bayern look to have concluded their live training session here in front of the public. You can now hear much more vociferously than before, calling for the players to come over. They will do. They'll do their best to go right the way along all four sides. Those have come with shirts and caps and balls, hoping for a photo and an autograph or two. They'll spend a little bit of time now saying hello. Start at the end and work your way along. Difficult to know where to start. That, though, is the end of the physical activity for those here at Säbener Straße. Back as a group together after the Easter weekend. It's a long way to get around everybody. They will do as many as they can. Good morning to all of you. If it is still morning, welcome to Munich for this last section of training. Hello to those of you in Sierra Leone. I know watching in Freetown, in Kuwait City. The reach of FC Bayern goes right around the world. Plenty across Africa. We've had people in Ghana and Kenya and in Liberia and Nigeria, in the Gambia, in Lesotho, Malawi, across India. Hello to those of you watching on in that particular part of the world. In Uganda too, and Malawi. Zambia, let's not forget Zambia. Plenty of you watching from there. As the training is over, and those lucky enough to live nearby or be able to make the trip are able to get what they came for. A good look at their heroes and a chance for an autograph or two as well. So we hope you've all enjoyed this insight into Bayern's week, the preparation for Heidenheim and the preparation for Arsenal a week today in the Champions League. We'll be able to bring you more live training over the course of the remaining weeks of the season. But for now, for those of us here at Säbener Straße, we hope you've enjoyed the last 90 minutes or so. Have a very, very good week. And for me, it is goodbye for now.